Slow. Hey, how's it going and welcome to another video. So today I figured I would talk about my favorite Pokemon, Slowking. I have a lot of attachment to Slowking for a lot of different reasons. There's the Pokemon anime, the games themselves, the trading card game, my real life experience with the Pokemon. There's a lot of little things that have happened in my life that all kind of fit together into this nice puzzle that makes me just love Slowking. I guess I'll start with visually just the man himself. So I've always loved the entire Slowpoke family. Like Slowpoke, Slowbro, and Slowking are all like top 10-ish favorite Pokemon of mine. Because they hit a lot of these little like design cues, I guess, that I just find really appealing. I like pink things, I like lazy things, and I like things that are kind of a little bit slow in the mind, you know? Slowpoke is, of course, one of the original 151 Pokemon. Absolutely classic. I love how just, like, goofy and weird he is. He is a weird creature. He's like this psychic hippopotamus that fishes with his tail. He's very weird. And of course, when it comes to Slowbro, he has they have that very bizarre connection with Shelder, to where Shelder will bite on a Slowpoke's tail and then they'll turn into Slowbro. Which has always been this very strange, like, lore and in the anime kind of thing, but in the games has never mattered. Like, a Slowpoke just turns into a Slowbro. So that's another thing about them that's just, like, odd. Slowbro is cool, too. Big, hulking, fat, thick boy with the big Shelder tail. I actually have a shiny Slowbro. Plus, there's Mega Slowbro, who's just this fucking abomination. I don't know if I love or hate Mega Slowbro. I think he's so silly, but it kind of works with his family. And then, of course, you get to the man himself, Slowking. And there's a lot of stuff about Slowking that I really like that has less to do with his physical design and has more to do just with, like, weird things that I'm into. So I have always really, really liked kings and royalty. Like, you slap king onto anything, I'm like, alright, that's sick. Like, the mech King Khitan from Gurren Lagann. All this, like, symbolism and Code Geass that have to do with the king chess piece. Pretty much all of my favorite, like, Kingdom Hearts art has to do with Sora, like, on the throne or just with a crown or whatever. Like Mad King Ashnard from Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. I could go on all day about just, like, cool king-based things that I really like. Like, crowns are cool, royalty is cool, kings are cool. And so you take, like, a Slowpoke, who's just this weird, bumbling creature that has psychic powers but doesn't really know what to do with them, and you turn him into a king. And the way that a Slowpoke becomes a Slowking, I think, is really cool. Since the Shelder bites on their head, and it injects, like, venom into them, that makes them really smart. And, like, all he is, really, is he's just a Slowpoke standing upright, and then he has, of course, the magnificent crown made out of a Shelder. So design-wise, like, just hits all these little notes for me. He's a king, he's pink, he's, like, he has this weird, I really like kind of, I don't know if I'd call it the symbolism, but him going from this weird, dumb kind of creature to this magnificent king, I find to be very inspiring, in a way. So that's why I like Slowking the Pokemon so much, but I also have a lot of just little stories and stuff about him that kind of add to my attachment to him. So one of the things that gave Slowking this sort of mythical kind of feeling was a couple of different things. So I grew up on Gen 3, and in Gen 3, Johto Pokemon in particular had this weird kind of, this like mystique to them that was very interesting. I kind of want to do a video about that at some point. Because the way they handled a lot of the Johto Pokemon, especially like early on into Gen 3, they really were treated like they were this rarity, you know? Like, Pokemon Coliseum was more or less made to help you get most of those Johto Pokemon. And then in Pokemon Emerald, you could only get a lot of them through the Safari Zone. And Slowking was no exception. So I actually figured this out. But something that's very interesting about trying to complete the Gen 3 Pokédex is that the Slowpoke family is the only... How do I explain this? They're the only family of Pokemon that you can only acquire in a single Gen 3 game. And that's, of course, Pokemon Leaf Green. So if you are wanting to complete the Gen 3 Pokédex, Leaf Green is mandatory. Like, don't waste your time with Fire Emblem. Fire Red. you need Leaf Green. I got Fire Emblem on the mind lately. So not only would you need Leaf Green, you would need to get the King's Rock, which is usually kind of hard to get, and you would have to be able to trade it. So you can kind of see where, especially in Gen 3, there's definitely a magical sort of appeal to Slowking. He really was one of the most difficult Pokemon to get. Plus, in Pokemon 2000, Slowking had a pretty big starring role as one of the only Pokemon in like Pokemon anime history that can speak human language. Like back then, there was only Meowth, Mewtwo could do it, Slowking in the Power of One could do it, and there was maybe like 1 or 2 others. But other than that, he was a part of a very exclusive club that made Slowking seem very, very cool. So when Heart Gold Soul Silver came out, I really wanted to use a Slowking, because I had never gotten the opportunity to use one in a playthrough proper up to that point. And of course, I only had the 1 copy of Heart Gold. So I came up with this scheme to like encourage my sister to get my dad to buy her a copy, so that way I could trade like a Slowpoke with a King's Rock. I was a pretty evil little child, but my scheming worked, because my dad took us to Best Buy either that night or the night after, and went and bought her a Heart Gold. And I think she played it all of about 30-ish minutes before she got bored, and then I was like, alright, sick, it's my time to strike. So I used her DS, traded whatever garbage Pokemon she had with my Slowpoke, turned it into a Slowking, and brought it back. And that was Blitzkrieg the Slowking. Not quite sure why I named him that. I guess part of the irony was that like Slowking is really slow and Blitzkrieg is like a lightning fast invasion tactic. But yeah, I still have that Slowking. He's in my Pokemon Sun, I think. He's absolutely one of my most treasured Pokemon, along with my Swampert that's all the way from Emerald. Another thing that really adds to my love of Slowking is my favorite Pokemon card of all time is a Slowking card. So there's a lot going on with this card. It might not look like much, but there are many things going on with this card. So first of all, I just really like the art. It's based on one of his Pokemon Gen 2 sprites. I think it's the Pokemon Gold one. So this was one of, if not the first Pokemon cards to ever get banned. So the issue comes in with the PokePower mind games. So the effect goes, whenever your opponent plays a trainer card, you may flip a coin. If heads, that card does nothing. Put it on the top of the opponent's deck. And this power can't be used if Slowking is asleep, confused, or paralyzed. So here's where the issue comes in, is that this is actually mistranslated. So for those of you who don't know how the Pokemon trading card game works, basically you have an active Pokemon and then you have Pokemon on the bench. And the active Pokemon is the one that's currently in battle, so to speak. In the original Japanese card, the effect would only work if Slowking was the active Pokemon. However, the way that this is worded, in English, what you could have basically done is you could have had a bunch of these Slowking on the bench, and the effect would have still activated. Trainer cards are basically like spell cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like you activate them and then an effect happens. So you can see the issue that's involved with, let's just say I have 3 Slowking on my bench, and you try to play a trainer card. You now have to flip a coin for every Slowking that I have. Now you understand what the problem is. So there would be just a ton of bad situations where people would get locked down by Slowkings, and nobody would be able to do anything because they would just be flipping coins every time they wanted to activate a trainer card. And not only is it, like, mistranslated and that resulted in a ban, but it's also misprinted. So if you look at the attack Mind Blast, you'll see the 20 damage over there isn't centered correctly. On every other Pokemon card, that would have been, like, towards the middle, but instead it's up at the top. So 2 things have gone horribly wrong with this card. Now, it's broken because of a mistranslated, and it's printed wrong. And it's on the first card for my favorite Pokemon. So I love this card to death. It's a very important piece of like Pokemon card history. I own both an English version and a Japanese version. And I really want to get like some PSA graded copies of that card. So yeah, I love Slowking dearly. Absolutely my favorite Pokemon of all time. He hits just all these perfect, like, design notes for me. He has a lot of cool history behind him. He's got a lot of nice appearances in, like, the Pokemon 2000 movie. His first Pokemon card is so interesting and weird. I love him to pieces. I just wish I was able to use him more. Because of the nature of how you get him, it is very, tiresome to try to get a Slowking. And since I emulate most Pokemon games that I play through again because I don't want to get rid of my save files, there's not really an easy way for me to get Slowkings, you know? But I guess that kind of adds to my enjoyment of him, is that he's a treat. You know, I can't just have a Slowking anytime I want. He's like a nice filet mignon steak. You know, I can't eat one of those every night. I gotta save that for a special occasion. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you guys next time. Slow.